my car.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
That's what I'm saying. You
If
know
I
how
can
many
be-
college classes I took like this?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't want to know, but good. Glad you're
I
still here.
passed them. Yep.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I've asked Jeff to help me today talk about some stuff all around listings. And we wanted to kind of make this an open discussion class as well, because we realize that everybody is kind of, dealing with specific things with the market that we have. So we're going to kind of talk around just a lot of things that you guys want to talk about too, or questions that you have. So
We had meetings all day yesterday, and it's just crazy how many conversations happen around the listing conversation, the pricing. How do I make the most of every listing that I have? Everybody is kind of challenged to find new leads, and so we thought we would just share some of the things from the converting a listing standpoint, all the way to how do I use existing listings to generate leads today. We want to make it really open. One thing that we want to address any questions you have at any time. So if you have questions as we go, feel free to jump in. We don't want to make this one of those present questions. We want to share information across the board. So the first thing that has been coming up a lot is the everyday challenge with pricing, and it doesn't seem to matter what property type you're in. It's just flat challenging to know where these homes or condos or commercial land in pricing. And so we wanted to go through some of the options that a person has and some of the best ways to set yourself up for success in getting that listing and leaving it open. Just yesterday, we had our team leader meetings, and we had some conversation about listings that were lost. We had conversations about listings that stalled out for the first time, that we expected to sell and didn't sell right out of the gate. So I think it is good. It's good for us to talk about how we prepare for what we're dealing with. So first thing is, when you start a listing class, I always find myself challenged to do everything I can for every opportunity. And I wanted to lay out some groundwork as far as why we need to remember that it's worth our time to be prepared. So anybody guess today how many lakefront homes are on the market today? Any guesses? Don't pull up MLS. No guesses? Nobody guesses on lakefront homes? How many are on the market today? Not
30.
One. 30. Thank you for guessing. Nobody else?
100.
100. Whoever said that. Is that you, Jake?
Jake, yep.
That's pretty good. 91 this morning. There's 91 lakefront homes on the market. The median price of the lakefront homes is $699.
Mm-hmm.
3% of $699 is almost $21,000, and half of that is $10,500. How about other homes? Every other home besides lakefront, single family, not condos. How many are on the market? It's 91. Every other house, the median price is $310. 3% of $310, $9,300. Half of that, $4,650.
187 of them on the market.
Nope, 91. That was with condos.
Oh, yeah.
I changed it, but
Yeah.
you didn't write it down. Condos. How many condos today? Anybody?
About 90.
59. The median price is $400, just under $397. 3% of that's $11,900. 50% of that is almost $6,000.
How many of those are not even built yet?
I didn't look at that, but I would say there's at least 20 of them, 20
Yeah.
to 60,
And
probably.
that's why I think the average price is so dang high, don't
Absolutely.
you? I mean, that
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
complex is 400 and up, so.
But I had a guy in here, Bruce, yesterday. We were looking at 2 bedrooms, Osage Beach and Horseshoe Bend.
Yeah.
2 bedrooms. There were 4 active. 3 bedrooms, Osage Beach and Horseshoe Bend. There were 7 active. And that was between 1,000 and 1,800 square feet. So there were more than that, but we wanted to keep the price down. But the point is, every opportunity today is worth a lot. It's worth a lot of money. I mean, so the struggles that we go through with pricing, it's still worth it to take the time to put some type of plan together in your mind and be armed, because the first time that you meet a seller, what does that seller say? I mean, you're there to close the deal, and what is one of the things that they say?
What's my home worth?
What's my home? Very first thing, Carol, we went through the home. What's it worth? I mean, come on, you have an idea. You can tell me.
Why don't you tell me? What do you think?
They want to know. They want to know right away. And it's really hard not to set yourself up for failure because you're competing. So if you shoot out the wrong number today, based on whatever information that you have, you could be out immediately. So, I mean, I think it's so important that we start talking about, the one way you could be out is that those folks have another realtor right behind you that says it's 50 or 100,000 more. Another way you could be out is that you throw out too high of a number, the market pushes back, and you don't set yourself up for success with that. One of the conversations we had yesterday was on a $400,000 condo that the belief was this thing would just be off the shelf within a week. And so we pushed the price to $425. Long story short, it took 2 price reductions in 2 months to get an offer on it. Thankfully, it was set up that way. So what we want to talk about is, how do you set yourself up for success when you're going into a listing appointment with these types of atmospheres out there? Any thoughts around that? Does anybody relate to any of that? Have you guys had some of that conversation already?
100%, yes.
Has anybody on here
Competition.
Has anybody lost any?
I have,
Okay.
just recently.
So you're not alone, first of all. In the team, we've had this a lot, and we've been talking about it a lot. I love Jared James' video the other day. This market's crazy. He said, please stop saying this market is crazy. And so I've used this a couple times, and it's really good with people. Well, actually, this market is complicated. This market is competitive, but this market is not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This just takes an agent that has a really good process to help guide you through it. This market is awesome in the fact that if you have a good process, as a seller, you stand the chance to benefit the most you potentially ever could. So I have that, and I can help you through it. It is complicated, but I know how to deal with it. Little lines like that help a lot. When you go into a listing and you set yourself up so you have a process when you start with that seller that says, when the first time they say, so come on, what do you think it's worth? You have a response, and your response sets the stage for the whole relationship, no matter how it goes. And the response is based on what type of property you're dealing with, but it can be as easy as something like, that's extremely hard to identify, extremely hard target to put on. So if anybody says an amount right out of the gate, they're doing you a disservice. I need to do my homework with respect to pricing. Here's likely what we're going to deal with. We're going to deal with a lot of solds, some pending and contingent, and very few active comparables. So lots of the properties that I go to today, really hard to determine where, you're the seller, I work for you. I'm going to give you a range that makes sure that I'm not over promising and under delivering. So I'm going to give you a range based on the solds, but then there's likely to be a big margin that we might be able to push it with, but I need to do that homework for you. Does that sound fair? We have to do that homework quickly, and there is such a thing as getting a listing signed without a price. You will have buyers that are sellers that will go along with that. Urgency is a big part of the market, but boy, oh boy, is it hard to do research.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen more of our agents, lots of them, Carol, that I've gotten to talk to, lose the listing because they priced it solely on the solds. And, it was a nice lakefront home in a good area. Had some cons, but it had more pros, and the comps showed it at 450, and some other agent came in between 500,000 and 600,000 and listed it, and the damn thing sold. I don't ever want to see that happen for our agents, and I never want our agents to paint themselves in a box where they're the ones pricing the property. So we've got to come up with scripts that allow us to make sure the seller knows that we work for them, and the seller knows that we're willing to try it. But this is what our paperwork says.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a talent to doing that we never had to do before. And we've been talking about it for a couple of years. So it's not new to a lot of you guys, but it's still common that when you get that call and you get excited about it, you forget that. And or some of the agents forget it. And all of a sudden they find out that somebody else ended up with the listing and it's sold.
Mm-hmm.
What questions do we have around that part of the process of listings?
So I've got two really quickly.
Okay.
With the first one, because last time I did a listing appointment, I used a similar, script and idea, that you don't necessarily know and you have the ability to push the market. How do you say that and still remain the educated figure? Because whenever I said that, he kind of rebutted with, well, if you don't know what it's priced at, then you don't know the market. And I was able to work around it because I kind of diverted and we were talking about personal things, but that was one of his, rebuttals as far as, countering that.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question, because that's what they will say. You're the professional.
Mine said the same thing.
Okay. So
And we did a team appointment. So I didn't go by myself, but yeah.
Well, not uncommon. We work with some really savvy folks here, and they typically have an idea in their head, but they want you to talk first. And so I think that's why it's really important that we take the time to do the homework and we tell them what we're going to do to define our answer. So it starts before the question is asked with the way that is set up. So when we get to a house, we're going to build rapport. Jake, you said you were talking about personal things. Did the personal things save the deal?
So he actually talked to me after we got it signed. Once we got a contract, he told me the only reason that he chose to come with me is because, so when we initially got it, it was an online lead. I arranged an appointment and then I called him back and he was sick. And I texted him, I said, hey, I know you're sick. I know it may be hard to move. Can I get you anything? I offered, do you need cough medicine, cold medicine? I'll run by Walgreens. And he said that was the only reason he chose me, because I cared. Another question too that I forgot to touch on is, how would you get a listing signed without a price, without seeming greedy?
Yeah.
Or
okay.
Rush?
Right. So I thank you for saying the example. I didn't even know you did that with that guy. So here, Carol, to your point, the only way to have the right to avoid to have a relationship enough to avoid that pointed question, or some of it is to establish that rapport before that question ever comes up. So when I go to the house, I want to layer that that process in. I want to say to them, so here's how this is going to work. Carol, I want to come out to your house because, Lake of the Ozarks, as you know, it is not apples to apples. It is not like and any agent or any appraiser can just pull comps, active, sold, pending, contingent. We can't just pull those out of MLS because every house is different. There's no apples to apples. So I really need to do my homework. I would like you to take me through the house. I'm going to take some notes. I'm going to ask some questions, but you know that better than anybody else. And then what I'm going to do is at that point, I'm going to take the information I've learned, go back, pull the solds. There's going to be a lot of solds. I'm going to look at pending and contingent because those are the ones that, buyers are actually under contract with. That's a proven value as well, even though it hasn't closed. And that's something that appraisers can't look at. I'm also going to look for actives. Just so you know, there likely won't be many actives because things are selling so fast. Now, what I'm doing while I'm talking to you is I'm building rapport, I'm building trust, and I'm establishing that I'm a professional. So that time spent is not wasted because as we go through the home, I'm going to tell you, today, I don't believe there's a realtor or an appraiser at the Lake of the Ozarks that can come in and say your home's worth X. I'm going to say that sometime during our time together, and I'm going to be asking you why you're selling. And then after I say that, I'm going to explain what we're doing, how fast this market is moving. And even though I work in it every single day, the very best job I can do for you, Carol, is to give you a range in value, a low based upon the solds that are proven the value, and a high based upon the actives or even the lack of actives. The lack of active comparables puts you in a better position. Yep. Does that make sense? And those questions are going to eliminate the seller looking at you and saying, well, you're the professional. You tell me. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm also going to say to you while we're going through that house, I'm going to say, Carol, look, this is my only opportunity to literally show you evidence of what the market has said your property price range is. And that's what I'm going to do. But you're the seller. I work for you. You're ultimately going to decide what the pricing is. And I'm going to tell you if we're on the low side, if we're right in the middle, or if I believe you're a little bit high. But it doesn't mean I'm afraid to try it. By the time I'm done, you're not going to have doubts in my ability. You're going to understand why I say no one can price property today. Exactly, to a penny. And that's not a weakness. So, Jake, a lot of times when I first started, I thought when somebody asked me a question, I had to be knowledgeable enough to answer it. And I felt like if I couldn't answer, that was a weakness. It is not a weakness. The more confident you are in saying, I don't know, and here's why, the more they're going to respect you.
Is that when you start layering in the expectations of the market and just explaining the market after you kind of cover some of that?
So it depends on what your process is. So, and what I mean by that is before you ever step foot in a condo or a house or tour the property, I want you to have in your mind what the process looks like. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to make them tour the property. I'm going to take notes. Nobody can even read my notes because it's not really about the notes. It's about me bonding with them, learning about the house, but more so bonding with them. And then I'm going to let them know what the process should be in case they're interviewing other agents, because I want to set the other agents up for failure.
Right.
Because everybody's interviewing right now. So to answer your second question, Jake, if you do that, sometimes if you do that, you establish so much trust and so much of a relationship that you can literally get the listing signed without having the price. And you can tell them that, the pricing is the second step. You have to do the homework with that. We're going to sit down together. And when you decide, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, on a price, we're going to write that in right here and you're going to initial it.
I
Now,
see.
if you can pull enough information and have it in your folder about that particular place prior, then that's what you should do. You
Right.
should avoid a two-step at all costs. And if you have to do a two-step, you do it with in the same day.
Right.
So I don't want to poo-poo urgency because that can get us in trouble today too. But I also believe we need to set ourselves up that this is a price range, because I think that not long we're going to have certain properties that we're seeing them. We're going to not see them decline in price, but we're going to see them plateau enough that, the push in price, they won't respond every time to, this one yesterday was a 400 and the comp was there for 400,000. They priced it 425. They got no response for a month. They reduced it to 400, started getting responses, ended up with the property under contract at 385, 390. Really accurate based on what the solds are. They were trying to push, which was the seller's, decision. But it's very interesting how it was set up really well so that the agent didn't become the target, well, you told me I could get that.
So do you think it's almost smarter to, manage the expectations first before you even get into the prices?
That's exactly what, yes, 100%. They don't know it, but you are taking care of all of these objections way ahead of time.
Right. And I think that it's even more prominent with the market that we've been conditioned to. And it's our duty as agents to alleviate the stress level, not add to it. That's why we bring up that Jared James video. When you say the market's crazy, that makes them stress out even more. We have to be mindful about how we present things, how we explain things.
They're not ready for you to say that. When we were setting up for the clown, I was driving through the parking lot afterwards, and this was the day before, and there was two ladies walking alongside the car, and they waved me down. I rolled the window down, and I was in our sign truck, and it looks like a billboard. And so I'm driving it, and they waved me down, and they're like, "Hey, we've got a friend here that's thinking about selling their home. How's the market today?" And it was like a perfect example for me to use it. And they said, is it as crazy as we hear it is? And literally I said, no, it's not crazy. It's complicated. It's competitive. It's a great market, but it's not an easy market. It's very complicated today. And the lady goes, I was a broker. I was a previous broker. I understand that. And I said, well, everybody likes to say crazy right out of the gate, but I could tell they were wanting me to agree or expecting me to agree. And when I didn't, it put me in a different position. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I had their ear and they were listening, and little things like that really work. So that managing expectations ahead of time is a great way to say it. That's the right way to say it. That's what you're doing. You are positioning yourself to be of value and in control, not to be responsible for incorrect pricing or a market that changes midway. Because that's not what the average agent's going to do. I guarantee it.
No.
So you think instead of using crazy, just trying to find, verbiage examples, I had one last night where we were looking at houses, but they're not ready to buy, but they have to sell their home. I used a lot of the terms of that it's fast. It's not that we don't have an inventory problem. It's just that it moves fast. Do you think fast? Do you think that scares people?
No. The same ladies sitting in the parking lot they said, well, there's no inventory. I said, well, that's really, that's not true. And they're like, what? And I said, well, think about this. The United States set a record for transactions last year. 6.1 million units. We've never even scratched that. We've been at 5.5 million units. So if there is a inventory problem, how could we set a record of sales?
Mm-hmm.
And we did that at the lake too. I said, what's happening is there's plenty of stuff coming on the market. It's just selling fast. And that's why on either side of the fence, a seller has to have a process and a strategy to maximize their return. A buyer has to have a process and a strategy to even be able to win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't work with the right agent, you're not going to have that. And I mean, it's sad, but I think you have to, it's not sad. It's very important. You have to challenge people enough that you have the position that they're listening to you, because lots of them aren't. I mean, there's lots of commission pressure. I'll have 2 or 3 conversations a day about, people leveraging for lower commissions, trying to hammer all of us. And it's because they don't see value. And you've got to challenge them to have the ability to protect your commission, your income.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the best way to try and protect that? Because I agree with you. That's every listing appointment, talk of a listing, they go crazy on commission because they're with the thought that whoever throws it up is going to sell it. It's not a matter of who I use. It's
when are they asking about that?
Whenever they ask about the price that we can get, and they use leverage of competition.
When do they, I mean, is that after you met with them? Is that on the phone before you meet with them? When is that?
Usually the first time I meet with them. And usually it's 20 to 30 minutes into the interaction.
So there's never enough talk about this. And you probably haven't heard this part yet, but when somebody asks you about commission, my goal is for you to be excited.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Not defensive, not aggressive, not shy or scared or losing eye contact. Excited. Man, that was early. That was good. I'm used to talking about commission. I'm glad you brought it up.
That's a great question.
We are going to cover that. You can get a big range. Today you might get somebody hired for 5%. Now I'm not saying that I'm that person. And I'm also not saying that commission is not negotiable, because it is. So I'm going to cover all of that with you, but I will also tell you this: not every company or every realtor is the same. They are very different in how they treat their businesses and the results that they bring you. I want a chance to show you how I can bring you value. And then we will talk about commission. If you're not happy working with me, there's obviously no strings attached. Something like that, some type of way that you can address it.
I also really like the stats on the 7 versus 6 page too.
Right. But when they bring it up the first time, it's my opinion that you don't whip out that sheet and put it.
No, but you can internalize some of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could. That's a good statement. You have to make it your own. But the bottom line is, whatever script you choose, you got to be ready for it, because they're going to ask. Most of them, if they're on the phone, they're really brave. If they're on the email, they're really brave, and they'll lead with it on the phone. So what do you charge? And the sad part is the wrong answer or at all will eliminate your ability to ever have an appointment with them. So if you aren't prepared for that on a phone call with your own dialogue, you can work your way out of even a chance at the listing. So you've got to cover that. So, but most of them, when you get in person with them, usually I don't find that they will ask that right out of the gate when you first meet them. If they do, you got to be ready for it. So how do you guys handle if somebody asks on the phone, what do you charge? Just when they call in about thinking about listing.
Mine's been in person, so. Well, on the phone too, but
When
the
did
one
they?
I lost was in person.
So was it because? Do you think you lost it because of price or commission?
I was actually told that it was very, very close, and it was because of list. So I didn't come out and ask them what they're going to list for because I didn't want to be rude, but
List price?
it was list price.
Okay.
I gave a range. So, but she kind of wanted to do 4% commission, and I said, well, like you said, I said commission is negotiable, but that's a little low, but we can always negotiate it if I didn't say no, but I of course didn't want to do 4%. But
Absolutely. What was the price bracket of the home?
we gave a range of 725 to 750.
So
It was a lakefront.
So it's really common, Carol. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm hearing,
But she did
lots
say
of,
if she changed her mind, she would let me know.
so I think we need to go deep as we can with people about how commission works. I think lots of people don't understand that a list and a sale are split, and I think lots of people don't understand what the difference is between the services offered with different agencies and brokerages, and that commission is negotiable, and what a disservice that can mean to them as a seller. So if we don't take the time to really dive into that, that's our only chance. If you sense, I think it needs to be brought up regardless. Anytime, even if they don't say anything about it, it needs to be covered fairly in depth. But especially when they say something about it, I think we need to spend some time on what are the reasons why you're making the decision you're making, and get them to talk to us about it. Takes the right atmosphere and relationship to do that. You can't do it via email. You can't do it over the phone. But when you're in person, you can. And I think we just need to be really open and not connected. You're very disconnected from the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to like role play with that, we can do that, because it's going to be a little different for every person. I don't know these people, those people, there are certain people that you can't. I talked to an agent yesterday, and it's a really high end, and this guy will not give them much time in person. He won't even give them much time on the phone. He wants to do everything by email, and that makes it really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's almost no good way, but boy, if you're in person with somebody, you can really talk about it. Thomas would love to hear the thoughts on 7 versus 6. Okay, so what thoughts? You tell me. You tell us. Thomas. Okay. How about just any thoughts then? That 7 versus 6 is that flyer,
Mm-hmm.
and you can pull it up?
Yeah.
Cool. So when you have the right, when it's your part of the process and you're ready, then you can use this to talk about the differences in results. So, obviously when somebody is talking about a listing at 4%, Carol, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't going to agree to that anyway.
usually you're going to find that people want to list at 6. You're trying to get them to 7.
Yeah, I mentioned 7, and she kind of said it laughingly a little bit, but she brought 4% up, and I would kind of
laugh.
giggled back a little bit. I kind of laughter, and then I said, "Well, everything's negotiable in
I
real
would
estate."
laugh too, and I would say, wow. Well, if somebody's like saying that they'll list it for 4, they're probably not even worth the 4, because that's actually going to do you more harm than good. I can't believe a professional realtor would ever offer that. Maybe a discount brokerage, because there's some of those out there, but that's like desperation.
Yeah.
I mean, I would put some serious challenges in their mind, and I would say that's not me. I'm not opposed to negotiating, but that's definitely not me.
I kind of nipped that one pretty quick.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of the agents do like different packages now for commission? What's your thoughts on that?
I've heard about it.
Like you only get so much
like
of a marketing plan,
like a menu of services.
Yeah.
I have not seen any of our agents. I've not talked to any of our agents that have tried that. I just negotiate it. I mean, I'll negotiate it if I have to, but will you pull that back up?
Yeah, I was going to say just why we default to 6% instead of even trying to go to 7 for the sake of getting the listing.
Yeah, most times it's they don't ask. An agent doesn't ask; they just take it at 6. So you're right; it is a default to 6, and most of it's because of their the agents struggle with the belief that they're worth it, or that they are different,
or the fear of overcoming the objection that might not even get they might not even get faced with.
Right. When you get to that point where you're ready to present, you have established a rapport. You've shown them your results. You've shown them the market trends and the work that you're going to do in coming up with a range for them. You've presented a professional presentation, and you can now talk about the differences of getting the guy that works out, the person that works out of their garage, that might list it at 4 or 5%, or the discount brokerages, and then someone who provides the services that you provide. And you've established the fact that it's really not that much difference. We're talking about typically a % difference between over the top excellent service and another realtor. And then you can lay this stuff out. This is literally the difference between our company and the next top 4 companies. There are 100 other companies at the lake. We're only comparing to the next top 4, and our average homes sell for 17% more. And that, we're literally stating facts, because we want you to know that we will bring you more result than we will cost you. And after this, at least you put some hard to argue with stats in front of them that people won't put in front of them. And you've tried, and you're going to tell them, how I'm trying to protect my commission. I'm going to try to protect your value and your purchase price of your home the same way. All we are doing is negotiating. If somebody lays over on commission immediately, you don't want them working for you, negotiating on your behalf.
Yeah, what else are they going to lay over for?
Correct.
Through the deal.
And it's up to you if you're confident enough to lay that out. But literally, that's what they're doing. They're hiring somebody to negotiate on their behalf. Who do they want? You can still take it for 6%, but you will cause them to think. What are you laughing about, Bruce?
Sounds like Jacob's having some kind of a beer party. He's popping tabs.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have any questions on that 7 versus 6 page anymore? Okay.
That would be a no, I think.
Yeah.
Did you hear everybody talking about no?
Yeah.
Somebody bring something else up. I know where we want to go next, but I want to hear somebody else's thought. Any questions? Oh, Thomas, so far I've just followed Mel's approach by typing it up and filling it in with 7%, and it hasn't failed me. Love it. It will eventually, you will come up with that person that hammers you when it's time to sign. But it's sure a better way than not asking. And at least if you got it typed up, you can't chicken out.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's a solid point.
It is. It is.
Right. Oh, I'm still pretty green, but 2 for 2 so far.
That's awesome.
What else, guys? There's lots of things that revolve around listings right now that are important. Like, I heard a great video this morning, just one thing I wanted to throw into this class. When do you think the client relationship starts? When you meet with them or at the closing table?
First contact.
Yeah, as soon as first interaction, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's actually at the closing table.
Hmm.
Because that's when the real work begins for an agent as far as follow-up, staying top of mind, communicating, trying to gain referral business, different things like that. Now, I agree. I mean, when you're trying to build rapport and getting that client to work with you, that is a good part of it. But the real relationship to your client starts after the closing.
You mean to generate future business from your client?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that's a good reminder for generating future business. The closing is not the end; it's the start.
It's the start.
Thomas and I had an interesting conversation about assumptive closing. You guys heard of assumptive closes? Man, we're just flooded with responses. God, this is such an interactive.
No, never heard of it, Jeff. Enlighten
No,
me.
me neither.
You're
Please
on, buddy.
inform.
I don't know if I believe you. You're probably not telling the truth, but I'm going to pretend like you are. So, assumptive closing is assuming that you have the business. So this is a great example of the right mindset to start day one, like when the call is. If you assume you have the business, you do things differently. You're less likely to hold back. You just assume that I'm going to get it. So I'm going to lay it out there, and you're going to demonstrate how you're going to work for them before they ever hire you. I mean, and that's what we're doing. All of our risk is up front, but you would not know, you wouldn't, it's very common for agents not to go in with that thought. And I think we have to have assumptive closes in mind when it comes to fielding phone calls, to going on a listing appointment, to converting a buyer to a buyer's agency. You just need to go in with the assumption that you're gonna work with these people, of course, unless they create some kind of red flag. But just the question about what do you charge? I mean, you can't really blame somebody for asking that today, because they've been conditioned by every TV show or every neighbor or parent or what have you that they don't need a realtor today. So you have to kind of put the shoe on the other foot and be open about identifying that, overcoming those objections. So how do you generate leads with your existing listings? Any ideas around that?
Have you heard of the letter that Corey does? Hey, just wanted to reach out. Your neighbor has sold for this. This is approximated. They've gotten 35%. Wanted to let you know your opportunity, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
That's a really good one. We're talking a lot. That seems to be working a lot. Go
ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like that, showing that value, letting them know they've made money before they realize it. Do you see that being of value to them? or is that just kind of a reach? How do you think they perceive that reach out?
I mean, personally, I always want to know if I'm making more money on anything that I own or do. So my personal opinion is I would want to know.
Yeah.
But not, I mean, everybody's not the same. I get where you're coming from.
Right.
I think everybody wants to know. And I think that's the best thing we've got going for us now with anyone in a neighbor of our of a listing, or anyone in our SOI, any way that we can get that information out, everybody's going to want to hear it. That's the very easiest thing we can say. Have you updated your portfolio with respect to your real estate values lately? They're gonna be like, what?
I got a portfolio now.
What your property is worth currently. Do you know what your property is worth based upon today's market? Nobody's gonna say it doesn't matter to me. I don't want to know that. I mean, very rarely, at least, especially if they're in your database or they're a neighbor of a listing. I mean, not only do we have this property listed down the street, but there has been 2 recent solds, and I'm just finding that people want to know that. So if you would like me to do some homework for you, I can give you a range of value. Something like that is very valuable.
I've seen agents also have success with that same script, but they also piggyback it with information on what they could potentially do with any existing increase in value. So you could also, turn a client into an investor, or, help them buy a second home. I mean, people don't know what they don't know, but if you can educate just a little bit deeper each time, I think it helps.
Makes for really easy conversation. So what Corey was doing was trying to generate other listings or buyers for that listing. Either way, I guess. So we are seeing a lot of listings come on the market, sell so fast that the homework isn't being done for the listing agent. I mean, the stuff that the listing agent could do, and they're leaving lots of potential leads on the table. So when we have a listing, we still have to remember how to generate as many buyer leads as we can off that. So that's something that we've still been talking about a lot as well, about using the 24 hours that we have. You can start advertising today and you've got 24 hours before that needs to go in MLS. And you've got to adhere to that, but it's business days. So on a weekend, you've got more time. So open houses,
they're huge. They're coming back. I mean, I feel like they've always been here, but they're working right now.
They are for sure working. The generation of leads through social media in that period of time is really good. Using those coming soons, I think, are really important, and they're not getting done. Doing the homework, like if you get a listing and it's going to sell very quickly, and you're not doing it's selling so fast, you're getting so much activity, you didn't do a video on it, you didn't put out a just listed. Send the just listed anyway.
Yep.
And then send the just sold. The pace of the market is so fast that we aren't doing that. And I think that's really important.
But I think you could communicate it to show even more value too. I mean, do you want an agent that's skipping steps because the market's so fast, or do you want one that's going to do all the work regardless?
How do you know if something's going, just because a property goes under contract immediately, how do we know it's going to close? What's the odds? What's the dropout ratio on something like that? And that's a reason for your seller that you tell the seller why you go through that full process. And it's true. I mean, it's not uncommon to have backups today. I saw a commercial piece that had 4 backups. It had a contract and 3 backups. So, it puts the seller in a great position, and that's part of your explanation early on of what you do, what your process is that gets them more money and protects them more than other realtors.
Mm-hmm. We have about 8 more minutes, guys. What questions do you have? I feel like we've kind of spitball a lot of things, but
yeah.
So how? Sorry, Alan. So how would you show willing, urgent, showing that it's fast, but not the problem?
You're breaking up.
You're doing that.
Can't hear you, buddy. You broke up.
Oh, I said how. So what's the best way to recognize that urgency? Let them know that, hey, this is something that's going to move fast. We're going to be on top of it. But then let them know that you're not rushing this. You want to take it seriously. This is a big thing to do. A lot of people don't. It's not a common process. It's the majority of somebody's, financial holdings sometimes. How do you deliver both those messages?
good question.
Just like you said, but early on. I think that you're managing expectations. You said it early, and that's got to be part of an early conversation of why you're worth what you're worth and how you're going to do it. So part of my process you're talking to a seller. So Jake, here's how this is going to work. You've heard that the market is crazy. Well, it's not really, it's crazy. It is fast. But with that, it's complicated. It's competitive. And in order to take advantage of the competitiveness, I have a system. So what I'm going to do is we're going to establish where you want to be within the market and in our price, and we're going to have a range so that you can pick where you want to be within the market to either, number one, push the market as high as we can, maximize your return as much as we can, or number two, be as competitive as possible, which might make multiple offers be a part of what we're dealing with. So there's some options there, but I want to explain to you what those differences are so that we take advantage of the market today. And you have the opportunity as the seller, you're the boss, you have the opportunity to choose that. Is that what you were saying? Something like
Yeah, because then you can kind of, whether they want to try and maximize their value versus maximize their time, you can kind of denote the different ways to do that.
No, that's and when you're walking through that house with them the first time, that's what you're trying to find out. One of the things you're trying to find out is why are they selling? Where are they going? How fast do they need to be there? You're going to figure out if this person is just playing. And we got a lot of people that do that down here. Look, I don't really have to sell. I don't really want to sell, but the price is so good, I can't hardly turn it down. So, I'm only going to sell if I get the right number. You're going to hear that a lot. And when you actually walk through the house, that's when you're going to find out, are they telling me the truth about that? Or are they trying to move to get closer to their grandchildren? Mm-hmm. Are they trying to move because they've got, they've owned this house for 20 years and they've got health concerns and they can't take care of it anymore. You're trying to uncover those motivations that they may not tell you the first time. And then based upon what they say, you can tailor those options for their pricing into their reasons why they need to sell or want to sell. Carol, what questions do you have? You got any?
No, I feel like a lot of what you talked about, we actually did in the listing appointment.
I'm certain that you did.
Yeah, I mean, we did the range.
So not to beat yourself up, but you do have a chance after you go through one of those. So first of all, we're not going to get them all, period. None of us. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to deal with that. Yep. And you shouldn't carry it around like a scar either. I don't want you to do that. But you do have, you do have an opportunity to take a minute and think about what could have went differently. Do you think there's anything that could have went differently?
Well, I mean, no, I had a connection. I actually knew where she grew up. We connected like immediately. The
Is this
connection was
recent?
there. Huh?
Is this recent?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
has she listed it yet?
I don't think so because she has some work to do like in the next month. She's not listing immediately.
Well, did she say no to you for sure?
In a text, she
No.
said that she told me who she was going with,
Okay.
but she said if she changes her mind, she would let me know. And then I responded and said, I'd loved your feedback because feedback is good, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I asked her what the deciding factor was, and she said list. And I didn't want to come out and just ask what they were willing to list it for. I mean, should I?
Yep. So,
Okay. I did not do that because I didn't know.
So don't do it by text. Don't do it by text. So, if somebody texted me something like that, the first thing I try to do is call them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to prepare for it, but I would try to call them first, and I would say, I would get into a conversation with you, Carol. First of all, thank you so much for letting me know that where you're at right now. I wanted to just visit with you for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't want to give up. I just don't give up very easy. I don't give up very easy, and I've been so excited about the possibility of marketing your home for you that I've come up with even more ideas than we visited about the other day. So I just wanted to know, are you 100% committed to that decision, or is there anything I can do? Because I want to.
Yeah.
And then you see what their response is. If she says they're 100%, then you say, okay, just for me, just to help me, what did you end up pricing it at? I'm curious to how far off I was, because if I didn't say it clear enough the other day, you're the seller, you guys dictate what you price at, and I am not in any way saying we can't get more. I just feel so responsible. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. What are you putting it out at? And then keep going, keep talking. You can revive a lot of deals. It is time to be more aggressive than we're comfortable with.
It kind of
absolutely.
In a respectful way.
100%.
It kind of reminds me of Phyllis's email that she used to use, or her script, where she would just be like, when somebody would go with a different agent, be sure to ask them this, or think about this when it comes up, or whatever. That's a great opportunity to show more value.
But you don't want to do that via text, because you can't control the situation. If you,
Correct, and you can't get the vibe either.
No, right. If I get you on the phone, I could tell if you're
serious
on the fence, or I have a chance, but I can't really tell that via text. But don't give up. Don't, do it until follow up with her and show her how committed and persistent you are. And sometimes it will turn around.
Okay. Well, yeah, she told me in a text if something changed, she would let me know. So I feel like.
So then you call her today and you say,
I'm going to. Oh, I
just wanted to check. Did something change?
Yeah. About you.
Seriously, I've been hoping something's going to change with you. So did something change? Did anything change? And she's going to laugh, and you're going to say, no, honestly, I have not stopped thinking about it. And I don't know if I wasn't excited enough and you didn't see the excitement enough, because I am so excited. I mean, we kind of get too serious sometimes. And when we're teaching, when we're like sharing at a class and we want to do a good job for you guys, that's one thing that I think I fail on. Simply the level of excitement sometimes gets someone hired versus not.
Mhm.
So, you know, have fun with it, but don't quit until she, you know, has made it a point.
Yeah, no, this just transpired on Monday. So
And then when she does say it, finally say, okay, I've resigned to the fact that I might not get the listing, but I'm going to sell this thing.
Yep.
I am going to sell it. And I mean, just don't let them have any beat you down, you know?
yeah.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. We're out of time. Does anybody have anything else really quick? It's like your one opportunity at Jeff, folks.
Baloney. This isn't a one opportunity, and they don't want me anyway. They want you. So thanks for letting me gab.
All right, guys. Well, I'll have this up on YouTube later. If you think of anything specifically around listings and the market today that you want an answer on, please get a hold of us. We will definitely try to help any way that we can.
Anytime you want to brainstorm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for getting on here while you're putting furniture together, Jake.
you.
No problem.
Bye.
Even Austin got a little.
I heard that.